Irris Makler. Irris, we're hearing these reports of a possible renewed hostage prisoner exchange. Sounding more likely, what are you hearing there?
Yes, for the first time since the previous hostage, the truce actually expired, what we are seeing motion. That is, we're seeing the negotiator from Israel, that's the head of the Mossad, meeting the Prime Minister of Qatar on Friday that just passed. We're seeing the head of the Mossad, the Prime Minister of Qatar, and the head of the CIA meeting in Warsaw yesterday. We're hearing that for the first time since the end of the truce, the Hamas leadership in exile is making its way to Cairo for talks. We're actually even hearing reported on Israeli media the terms of these talks, and Israeli media now suggesting that the ball is in Hamas's court. Hamas has made it clear that they don't want what they had before, which was a humanitarian truce. They actually want a complete ceasefire. They want the conflict to end. So that may be an ambit claim. We don't know how much further it's going to go, but that's what we're hearing. And I think it is significant because for 3 weeks we haven't heard a thing. And I do tie it, to the tragic incident on Friday when Israel shot 3 of its own hostages. And I think that's what's reignited, from the Israeli side at least, that's what's reignited these possibility of truce talks.
That's really interesting. Irris, you and I have spoken for weeks now about criticism building constantly from the UN over what they call a catastrophic situation for nearly 90% of the population, some on the verge of starvation, they say, blaming Israel, saying more aid needs to come in. Now we have a reverse scenario, the president telling ambassadors, actually, the UN has failed people in Gaza. What's going on there?
I think what Israel's president was referring to earlier today was something that Israeli officials have been saying for the past week or so, which is under US pressure, it must be admitted, but under US pressure, they were turning around, inspecting the vehicles of humanitarian aid, turning them around quickly. What Israel's President Isaac Herzog said, there were 350 trucks a day that could have gone in, and they were somehow there was a bottleneck at the Rafah border crossing. It wasn't getting in that way. This week, the trucks have been going in from an Israeli border crossing post. Are they getting to the people? Is that aid getting to the people who need it? What we've heard from humanitarian agencies on the ground is that it's almost impossible to deliver aid in these circumstances. The roads are torn up. There are still airstrikes. And they don't say this on the record as often, but there's also the problem of Hamas taking some of that aid at any rate. We've seen footage of that from the AP. So all of those things together make it incredibly difficult to do a safe delivery of aid to people who need it. And that's why we're seeing these repeated calls for a ceasefire. At the beginning, just a truce ceasefire for the delivery of aid, but they wanted to build into a permanent ceasefire and then perhaps even into a permanent peace deal.
Irris, great to have your context from Jerusalem. As always, we'll speak to you later as we get further developments. Irris Makler.